Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the latest updates on Pi Network and its Pi coin. If you haven't heard, there's been a ton of news, and we need to break it down because this is one of the most requested videos and for good reason. Pi Network has been shrouded in mystery and speculation for years, but now that things are launching, people want answers. Now, I've always said that investing in anything before it's launched and proven itself is risky. But with Pi Network finally launching their Open Mainnet, is it finally time to jump in? Is this the moment everyone who's been mining on their phone has been waiting for? Or is this just another pump and dump scheme? That's what we're going to find out today. We're going to look at Pi Network's price, analyze the technology, and see if this project has the potential to become the next big thing in crypto, or if it's something you should totally avoid. Alright, let's start with what everyone's thinking about: the price. Pi coin has seen some pretty interesting movement lately. After dropping down to 86 cents recently, it bounced back pretty quickly, climbing all the way up to $1.05. Now, I know what you're thinking, $1.05? That's it? And yeah, it might not seem like much compared to the hundreds or even thousands of dollars that other cryptos are going for, but remember, Pi is still incredibly early in its development. The fact that it's holding steady above $1, even with the recent market volatility, is actually a good sign. Now, looking at the price chart, we can see that Pi has been on a bit of a roller coaster ride since its launch. We see some big spikes and dips, which is pretty typical for a new cryptocurrency. This tells us that there's definitely hype around Pi, but there's also a lot of uncertainty. The key thing to remember here is that past performance is not an indicator of future results. Just because Pi has gone up in the past doesn't mean it will continue to do so. And conversely, just because it's dipped down doesn't mean it won't go back up. Now, let's talk about the big news. Pi Network just launched its Open Mainnet. This is a huge milestone for the project, and it's something that a lot of people have been waiting for. For those of you who don't know, a mainnet is basically the final live version of a blockchain network. It's where the real action happens. Before the mainnet launch, Pi was running on a testnet, which is basically a sandbox environment where developers can test things out. Now that the Open Mainnet is live, it means Pi Network is open for business. People can now send and receive Pi coin, and developers can start building decentralized applications, or dApps, on top of the Pi network. This is a big deal because it gives Pi Network a lot more legitimacy. For years, there were doubts about whether Pi would ever actually launch a mainnet. A lot of people were calling it a scam. But now that the Open Mainnet is here, it shows that the team behind Pi is serious about their project. Of course, launching a mainnet is just the first step. Now the real challenge begins for Pi Network. They need to attract users, get people to actually use Pi coin, and convince developers to build on their platform. Chapter 3, PiDaoSwap, the next big thing? Okay, so Pi Network launched its Open Mainnet, but there's even more news. They're also launching their own decentralized exchange called PiDaoSwap. If you're into crypto, you know how big of a deal this is. Decentralized exchanges, or DEX, are like the Wild West of crypto trading. See, on a traditional centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance, you're trusting that company to hold your funds and facilitate your trades. But with a DEX, everything is peer-to-peer. You're directly trading with another person without any middleman. This makes DEXs much more secure and transparent, but it also makes them a little more complicated to use. Now, PiDaoSwap promises to bring the benefits of decentralized trading to the Pi network. This means that users will be able to buy, sell, and trade Pi coin and other tokens without having to go through a centralized exchange. This is huge for Pi Network because it makes it much easier for people to get their hands on Pi coin. Not only that, but PiDaoSwap could also attract other projects to the Pi Network. If PiDaoSwap becomes the go-to DEX for a certain niche or community, it could bring a lot of value and attention to the Pi ecosystem. Chapter 4. Should you invest in Pi Network? So, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about Pi coin's price, the Open Mainnet launch, and the upcoming PiDaoSwap. Now, the big question is, should you invest in Pi Network? Honestly, there's no easy answer. There are definitely some potential benefits to investing in Pi. First of all, it's still early. Pi coin is currently trading at a relatively low price, which means there's potential for significant growth, especially if the project is successful. Second, the community is huge. Pi Network has millions of users around the world. This kind of grassroots support can be incredibly valuable for a cryptocurrency. It creates a built-in user base for Pi Network and its dApps. However, there are also some risks to consider. Pi Network is still a very new and unproven project. There's no guarantee that it will be successful. The crypto market is incredibly volatile, and there's always a chance that Picoin could lose value. Plus, we need to address the elephant in the room. Pi Network has been accused of being a pyramid scheme. Now, I'm not saying that it is, but it's something to be aware of. It's important to do your own research and make sure you understand the risks before investing any money. Outrow the bottom line on Pi Network. So, there you have it. Everything you need to know about Pi Network's Open Mainnet, the upcoming PiDaoSwap, and whether or not you should invest. Ultimately, the decision is up to you. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Just remember, never invest more than you can afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing in any cryptocurrency. The crypto market is incredibly risky, but it can also be incredibly rewarding if you're smart about it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on Pi Network and other cryptocurrencies. See you in the next one.